What's up, Internet? You're tuned to episode 3 of the Steam Deck podcast, Flip Screen Games' weekly video game podcast about Valve's hot new handheld, the Steam Deck. I'm your host, Pete and Bessie, joined as always by my very good friend and co-host, Mr. Steven Radford.
Hello, hello.
Hello, Steve. Welcome back. Week 3 here on the Steam Deck podcast. And wouldn't you know it, y'all showed up in even greater numbers for episode 2. Shout out to all the new folks. Welcome. If you're visiting us for the first time here on episode 3, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the Steam Deck podcast. It's been so cool to see folks responding to the show and showing up for the conversation. We've been having a great time doing it, and it's, of course, really great to see everybody tuning in. So thank you all for joining us for episode 3.
Yeah, definitely. It's nice to see a totally different audience as well. Obviously, a bunch of our usual people, usual fans and audience are showing up. But, you know, looking at the YouTube stats, it's pretty clear that over 50% of people that watched the last video were new people to the channel, which is really nice to see. So hopefully you'll stick around. Hopefully you'll check out our other stuff as well. But we've got a good episode today talking about the Valve's Q4 orders now coming into Q4, which is really exciting.
Huge news.
You know, more and more people probably listening to this will be getting a Steam Deck sooner than expected.
That's right. And it has me asking the question, where the hell is the Steam Dock? So we're gonna talk all about that. We've got a lot to talk about today. It's gonna be a good one. But before we get into that, let me remind you that this episode of the Steam Deck podcast is brought to you by our Patreon producers for the month of August. They are, of course, Christian Oliveria, Christopher Valenz, Gabriel Hasselmeyer, aka Asobi, Mary Berry, Smilky Shake, Wakahula, and Zaid Ida. Thank you all for your support. Y'all the realest of the real, and you keep this channel running. So thank you so much for your support of this and all of our shows. Speaking of which, if you want to find links to all of our other shows, if you want to find links to our second YouTube channel where we have all of our archives of our Twitch streams, if you want to find a link to our Twitch channel, if you want to find a link to our Patreon, all of those things can be found over at flipscreen.games. That's our website where you can find all of our content all over the web, our Discord, the email address if you want to write into the show. However you want to get involved, you'll find a link to do it over there. So flipscreen.games, go check it out. And let's get to the show, all right? Let's get to the good stuff. It's enough shilling for today, okay?
Let's do it.
Because I want to kick things off with a start screen segment, which we haven't done on this show before. So this is just a little bit of PSA. In a couple weeks from now, we're going to be having a guest on the show, Kevin Whammer from Overkill.WTF, who are putting out a State of the Steam Deck survey. So, of course, if you are a longtime listener of Flip Screen Games, if you have listened to our sister show, Nintendo Noise, we are buddies with Chris Brandrick, the mind behind the Nintendo Switch newsletter, Switch Weekly, which does their State of the Switch report every year. And it's like a big, huge survey that goes out, collects all this great data about people who use the Nintendo Switch. And then Chris does a cool kind of like infographic oriented blog post that breaks it all down and talks about all the data. It's really fascinating. And, Chris has become a buddy of ours. And for the last 2 years, we've done a breakdown of the survey on our podcast, which has been a great time. And we're going to be doing the same thing with the State of the Steam Deck, which is really exciting because, of course, the Steam Deck, only 6 months old, and the audience is obviously quite small. So, getting any kind of data about how people are using it, even some of the questions were things that I was very surprised by. So I'm interested to see the results. I'm excited to talk about it in a couple weeks.
Yeah, I also really want to know the data. We obviously won't know the actual figures, but we can extrapolate some data, like how many people own it, because the survey's not just for Steam Deck owners. If you don't have a Steam Deck yet, please go over there and answer it. There's multiple options at the beginning. It's, do you own a Steam Deck? Yes, no, yes, I own multiple. If you don't own a Steam Deck, it'll ask you a bunch of different questions, like when did you order, how long have you been waiting, when, when's your estimated date, that kind of thing. But yeah, some of the questions are great. It shouldn't take you too long to get through.
Takes about 5 minutes.
And I think we're going to get some really interesting data through from it. And Overkill.WTF is worth checking out as well. It's a relatively new site writing all about the Steam Deck. Kevin writes over there, and Chris is actually an author as well. Chris Brandrick is also an author over at Overkill. So if you've not checked them out yet, definitely go check them out. There'll be some links in the description or in the show notes to both the website and to the State of Steam Deck survey. So please go and help them out, and it should be a good episode in a few weeks' time when those results come in.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting to dive into all that, and yeah, hopefully will be the first of many appearances from Kevin and the Overkill team, because a lot of us Steam Deck content creators out here, we got to support one another. We got to go on each other's shows and stuff. So go check their stuff out and look forward to that episode when the State of Steam Deck wraps. And of course, go check it out for yourself. Go fill it out. Help the data set. So let's jump into our main talking point for the week. The Steam Deck Q4 orders are being moved up to Q3. The news originally broke over on Twitter, where Lawrence Yang, who is basically like the face of Steam Deck, kind of, right? It's like
one of, yeah. So he's. It's difficult because Valve don't have managers. They have like a flat structure.
Right.
So no one's in charge of anything there. So Lawrence's job title is design, and he just does everything else as well. Like, he does a lot more than design on the Steam Deck. But anyway, he's like one of the head honchos on the Steam Deck, and he posted on Twitter.
The way he describes himself on Twitter is design and many other hats at Valve Software currently shipping Steam Deck. So take that how you will, right? He's one of the minds behind the Steam Deck. Of course, one of many. But Lawrence said, "Hi all, a few of you may have received an order email for your Q4 Windows Steam Deck reservation today. This wasn't a mistake. Production has outperformed our estimates, and we'll be moving Q4 folks into the Q3 window. Official announcement and info coming soon. In the meantime, check your email and visit store.steampowered.com/SteamDeck while logged in, and check your reservation just in case it came in early. And if you missed the email, there's a grace period to get your order reinstated. Just make a support ticket." So that's great. This was only 2 days ago. The last update that Lawrence had provided was that reservation windows hadn't yet been updated, but that it would happen before the next batch of emails that should be dropping, as we're recording this, earlier today. So not sure if they've gone out yet, but
they have, yeah. So there was an update posted over on the Steam Deck website following this, which was on August 24th. So that was, as of time of recording, it was yesterday. And it says, "Hi, just a quick note today. Steam Deck production has continued to outperform our estimates, and we are updating shipping windows for the Steam Deck reservation queue. This means a bunch of folks who had an estimated order window of Q4, October to December, have moved up to the Q3 window and can expect to receive their email by the end of September. Check your reservation window status here with a link." So go over to the Steam Deck website, click that link if you haven't already. If you're one of the Q4 folks, there's a big chance that you've been moved up to the Q3 window, and you'll be getting an email through. They go out I think it's every Monday and Thursday now. So keep an eye on your email inbox, and you could have a Steam Deck on its way very soon.
I'm checking right now because my initial whoops, just dropped my phone. My initial order was somebody else's, right? Okay, so
yours could well be moved up, right?
It was moved up. It's now, it says expected order availability is July to September.
Yeah, so you'll have the option to buy another one soon. The crazy thing is they've outperformed it so high that you can order one now and expect to get it by the end of the year.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. New order availability is October to December. So if you put an order in now, you'll have it by the end of the year. So if you're looking to get one for Christmas or for the holidays, pop an order in now, and the chances are that you'll get it in time.
That's very cool. Yeah, I am planning on keeping my pre-order. My bandmate is looking to buy it. I don't know if you saw, actually, I updated my Twitter bio to a Steam Deck evangelist because I'm like convincing every person I know to buy a Steam Deck. And they asked if they could have my pre-order back when they were still scarce. Obviously now I guess it's less of a concern, but yeah, I'll have to let them know that the window's been moved up. That's very exciting.
Yeah, it's kind of mind blowing, really, the pace they've been able to do this. And it was really insane to me that Valve kind of came out of nowhere. Yes, they had dabbled with hardware before, and like their most successful consumer product was probably the Steam controller, but never on this scale. Never on this scale. That they must have sold more of those than anything else.
No, the headset's got to be the best. No.
Oh, maybe the Index. Yeah, you're right. I can imagine the controller sold more than the Index.
Maybe. I don't know how popular the Index was in terms of like units sold, but I would argue that's their most successful product before this.
In terms of units sold,
it's good.
I feel like that's the level of scale that they've reached. They've never had to do anything on this level of mass production that they've had to kind of ramp up with the Steam Deck. And it's so impressive that they've been able to achieve this.
Yeah.
Especially when you look at like competition. When you go and look at, say, Sony, for example, who are still struggling to meet demand and get these out of the door.
Even Nintendo.
I kind of want to know how.
You know? Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I guess it could... You'd think that because they are trying to make less of them, that it would be even more difficult to do. I'm interested. I'm wondering if they've like developed a like in-house department that's handling that. But even so, like trying to get hands on the resources and everything, you know, it's like, I mean, granted, I guess it's on an OLED screen and maybe that influenced that decision, right? Like,
yeah, quite possibly. I think the OLED screen is probably more of a price-conscious decision than the panel. I feel like the chips is the hardest thing that everyone seems to be struggling to acquire, and you'd have thought that Steam Deck would struggle with that even more, considering they're the only one using this chipset. Yes, there is like a variant that's in other devices, but
this specific one.
Yeah, this APU that's in the Steam Deck is designed and developed by AMD and Valve just for the Steam Deck.
That must be why then, right?
APU.
Like that's probably the thing then, because it must be that this is a specific part that nobody else needs, and they entered an agreement with AMD to create a certain amount by a certain date, and you know they were able to get ahead. You know, and like obviously it benefits AMD just as much to you know, prioritize getting that out, right? Because, like, obviously, you know, like Valve is one of the biggest players in the PC gaming space, so I'm sure they already have a good relationship. But, like, if the Steam Deck takes off and this proprietary thing that only they make is required to make it, and that's money in their pocket, right? So you could see why they would want to maybe work on that, because I bet you there's a pretty good margin for them if it was like a thing that they developed in partnership. And, you know, so I that's 100% an educated guess, right? But like, it's interesting. It's really interesting that they've been able to increase and eclipse what they thought they would be able to do by a lot.
Oh, far an eclipse, because you know we had Q3 orders moving into Q2. There were orders from next year that moved into like this year, so they've really ramped up heavy and hard, and. I'm in I'm need to RMA my Steam Deck. There's a slight problem about it, and I'm going to talk about that on another episode. And I've been holding out and waiting to a point where I'm not going to be really using my Steam Deck all that much, so I'm waiting for Splatoon 3 to come out. So during that period, I'm not going to miss it all that much while it's gone for 1 or 2 weeks.
You've never mentioned to me that there was a problem.
Yeah, there's a problem. I'll send you a video. There's a problem with the haptics on the left trackpad that needs resolving. That'll be going back. So I'm gonna see how the RMA process goes as well, and I'm hopeful that this means that it's sped up a little bit. That I'm not waiting for another Steam Deck to like come in and it's not delayed or anything like that.
Do they just replace your Steam Deck, or do they fix it?
They replace it. You have to send it back in the case. And I've still got the box, so I'll be sending it back in the box as well with the power cable, and they just send you a whole new one.
Oh, that's kind of a shame.
Yeah. But I'm guessing they repair them and do something with it. I can't imagine it goes to become e-waste because it's such a smart minor thing that needs to be
Yeah,
replaced
no,
on
I'm
it.
sure. I'm sure they're gonna just refurbish it and then sell it again, right? Like at some point. But it's just like the idea that like you have to go through the process of setting up your Steam Deck again, rather than just like them replacing the trackpad and sending it back to you. You know, like
Yeah.
that's kind of annoying, right? Like because it's not as simple as like switching from an old Switch to a new Switch, right? Like it's like okay, now I have to go and reset up EmuDeck and and then like all your saves or like like anything you have that's on the native Steam Deck storage you're gonna have to transfer over, and like you're gonna have to do a lot of prep work before you send it off so that you don't lose stuff, which is a bitch.
This is one of the reasons I've not bothered doing it, because I was just like, this feels like such a hassle and an effort, and I noticed the problem about 3 weeks before I was due to go on holiday. And I was like, do I risk it? Do I gamble and like send this in and possibly not have my Steam Deck back for when I go away on vacation? And
Or
I
like
really want to be able to play
or they want to send it back while you're away, like
while I'm away. Yeah, it would have been even worse. So,
yeah, that would suck.
I was waiting for like a good time slot, and I feel like one's coming up this month, and so I'll go through that process.
Did you do something to it, or did it just like it was just...
No, so it's some of the earlier models. A bunch of people on Reddit had the problem because I posted the video on r/Steam Deck. The case was a little bit too tight, the front bezel, and so when it vibrates, it hits the case, and so it makes a really horrible, like juddery noise. It's like
I see. Okay. It's a common
but there's
issue
just
for
the
some
kind
of
of
the
thing.
Q1 people.
Yeah, some of the Q1 models have had that issue, so it's some of those things that they just improve with time, right? As they make more and more of these things, they're able to go to the manufacturing line and just be like, oh, I'll just chuck an extra millimeter on there, or change this little bit here,
Yeah.
and go through it. Like there's some of the earlier models had whiny fans, which Valve seemed to stop using now.
Yeah, I feel like I really lucked out being like one of the people from like volume 1 of Q2 of like, cool, it's none of those problems. It was never like that loud or anything like that. And I remember that being like a joke of like, oh yeah, it sounds like a PS4, right? Like it's like so freaking loud. And it's like, it's not that loud. Like mine's pretty quiet. It doesn't bother me.
Oh yeah, I've got no issues with the volume of the fan, even though I think I do have one of the whiny fans. Because most of the time you don't hear it. If you're playing a game, you've got the volume up, or you've got headphones in, or I will like turn down some of the TDP settings so that the volume of the fan doesn't even ramp up at all.
So I have a question for you with regard to the queue process here. Do you know anyone who's waiting for one at this point? I know a couple
Only
folks who are waiting for one that are hopefully going to be getting it in the next couple of weeks now, which is pretty exciting.
You and Chewy are the only two people I know. So Chewy, our other co-host one of our other co-hosts from over on the Nintendo Noise podcast, one of our sister shows, also put an order in. He put his order in, I think, in March of this year. And you put your order in around the same time because it was when I ordered my Steam Deck. You were like, oh, I'm going to buy one. So yours was like
no,
March,
wait.
April,
I put my
pre-order
pre-order in when you got yours. When did yours show up?
It was either March or April.
Okay.
Mine arrived.
Okay. I think I put my order in a couple weeks after Chewy. Yeah. So he's probably going to get his in the next couple weeks.
He's going to be in Q3 as well, so we should probably talk to him about that.
We should let him know, yeah. That's exciting. It's funny because like I'm a little torn. Like I'm very excited about more people getting the Steam Deck, but it's also like been like fun to be like in this weird little club of like, oh, I'm one of the like fucking 5 people that have this fucking thing. Like I've never been like in this exclusive of a window of like, damn.
Yeah. Yeah, someone sent me a picture earlier of a Steam Deck in the Windows CX shop, computer exchange shop, for £900. Just yeah.
Damn.
It's insanity.
Now would be the time to sell it if somebody will still pay a ridiculous amount and you can just order another one for like 3 months from now. Just upgrade and get the better one.
You're now thinking, right? You're just sitting on a gold mine over there. Do you really want to let your bandmate have your pre-order?
I could just sell it. Nah, I'm not a dirty scalper. I can't be doing that. Anytime you get something extra, you got to just pay it forward. You know, it's karma.
Agreed.
And then the next time that you need one, hopefully somebody comes through for you. And that's the thing. I have really good console karma right now, right? Like, I'm not trying to fuck that up, right? Like, I got a PlayStation 5 by accident, basically. Like, I got a pre-order in a day before they opened because somebody at GameStop just let me, and, like, got an Xbox Series X by the skin of my teeth. I got an OLED Switch, no trouble. I jumped the Steam Deck line by, like, I don't know, 8 months. Like, I've been so lucky with getting new consoles this generation. I'm not trying to put bad console karma out there, you know? I can't be marking up my Steam Deck now. That's not right.
Yeah, I've been really lucky, and I missed a bunch of the price hikes. So, like, I've missed the Meta Quest price hike. I've missed the PS5 price hike. So it's like I'm sitting pretty at the moment.
I'm so glad.
Because if I sold,
I'm so glad you got a PlayStation 5 early. Like, if you, because you had gotten one for your sister and then not kept it. Like, if that had, you would have been like, son of a bitch. Like,
yeah.
But
if I sell my Quest, I will sell it for a profit at this point, which is
wild.
mad.
That's absolutely ridiculous. But so I want to pivot the conversation here now because the Q4, move up here is excellent. And I think it speaks to the fact that, like, Valve is getting a handle on the production pipeline, and, like, this was not a first for them, but like you said, shipping a piece of hardware at this, rate is something that was somewhat uncharted territory. The thing that I'm now wondering is, where is the Steam Dock? Because the Steam Dock was supposed to come this summer. We do actually have a post here where they actually do seem to have on Steam Powered done an update where they said on the 1st of June that due to part shortages and COVID closures at their manufacturing facilities, that the dock would be delayed. And working on improving to improve the situation, and we'll share more info when we had it. This has had no effect on production schedule and reservation windows for Steam decks. Of course, different parts, different factories. But it's very interesting because, like, you would think that, I mean, I don't know, I guess not, right? Because you said the Steam Deck does have that partnership with AMD and everything, so I guess potentially that is kind of like, that is an explanation.
Complexity in terms of the number of parts, the
you would think, right?
That's got to go in, like the software that's got to be tested, and the amount of QA that's got to be done on those, and then we've got to put them all in the cases, put them in the boxes, ship them to all of these different distribution hubs, and then send them out. The docking station is just a USB hub. That's all it is. It's a USB hub that's got a nice molding that fits the Steam Deck perfectly. It's not anything special, and they've said that from the beginning, that if you've got a powered USB hub, that you can use that, which me and you both have. We've used the Amazon Basics one, which works perfectly. It's not a flawless experience by any means, as we spoke about on the last episode. But yeah, that little silver thing, you plug it in, you plug your USB power cable into it, and you plug an HDMI cable in, and it does the job. I think partially the Steam docking station being delayed, yes, I believe them, because I don't think that Valve is in the business of lying. I do think it was probably part shortages and COVID, because they also quietly made an adjustment to the Steam Deck, the Steam Deck's dock specification. The USB ports are now all USB 3.1. I think some of them initially were USB 2. They've upgraded them a little bit. They quietly made that adjustment, which you can see over on the tech specs page for the dock. It's now 3 USB-A 3.1 ports. I think it was originally 2 3.1 ports and then 1 USB 3 or USB 2 port. So they've obviously been making some adjustments, presumably due to parts that they can get. They're just getting what they can get now. But it's strange. I do think part of it though is down to software, and then they've probably got a bunch of these ready to go, but the software just is not ready, as we've spoken about. And I think we'll maybe do more of an episode on it. The last episode we spoke about AAA gaming and the docked experience, but I'd
Right.
like to talk about the docked experience as a whole because it's not ready for prime time. It really isn't. Like it's fiddly, it's finicky. That it sometimes takes a couple of time attempts for it to show on the screen.
And they acknowledge as much in this update that I was referencing here. They say, in the meantime, the team is continuing to work on improving the docked experience for Steam Deck with all USB-C hubs and external displays. So I think they're aware of the fact that the experience is currently not very optimal.
Yeah, because back when that update went out, we didn't have any of the scaling options and things like that what I spoke about on last week's episode, where you can go into the settings and you can scale the UI. It went 100% scaled, so it was like tiny text on the screen and like tiny artwork. It didn't scale up properly. That's been resolved, but there's still a lot more that needs doing. Like if you plug in when it goes into like docked mode, if you're in airplane mode or your Bluetooth's been turned off for some reason, there's no way to connect a controller. You have to like unplug it, go to the settings, like turn Bluetooth on, and then like connect the controller. There's a bunch of weird little quirks that need sorting out, and it's not an easy process. I would imagine it's quite a difficult task to be able to flawlessly go from handheld to docked. And we thought that when we saw the original Switch video, right? We couldn't believe
There's no
how
way
fast
it'll
it
be
was
that
going to be. There's
easy.
no way it's going to be that quick. And so I do think there's probably a bit of additional work when it comes to it being a PC, because it is just running Linux essentially. There probably is some additional work to get the OS to do exactly what they want it to do. It's not just going to be like running a custom, custom build of Android or whatever the Switch uses, which is its own custom OS. But it's strange. It really is strange that they're able to ramp up the Q4 orders, bring them into Q3, but the dock is just AWOL.
Yeah, and it's and like you said, I believe what they're saying, that it's like, oh, it's just a different situation, but it's very odd to me. It's very odd because you would think that just there's so much more that goes into creating the Steam Deck than what amounts to a simple USB hub, and you'd think that
Yeah.
you'd think that even with those problems, pivoting wouldn't be out of the question, but I think it speaks to how difficult manufacturing anything is and how easy it is that like a slip up like this can really set things back quite a bit. So it's I guess it's just it's the way things are, right? And like to the point we made earlier, right? Like it's Valve, right? Like Valve doesn't have the same level of experience shipping hardware that, the Nintendos of the world do, right? So like if you only have one person manufacturing this hardware, and then it's like, oh, well, we don't have enough parts, we don't have enough people, then it's like, all right, well, I don't know what that means.
Well, and like if you've got to prioritize shipping Steam Decks or shipping Steam Deck docks, you pick the right one.
Yeah,
prioritize. It's like get more of these in people's hands than a dock that a small subset of the people that own the handheld are going to want to buy in the first place.
Totally. And I think that's probably a big factor, right? Where it's like, yeah, like this is a big deal to a small number of the audience, but there's a way bigger number of people who are like, I would like a Steam Deck now, and they want to solve that problem. And that totally makes sense, right? And it's like, I'm ultimately not, the docking the Steam Deck is not my highest priority by any stretch of the imagination, especially if we're not at a point where it is plug and play in the way that I want it to be, right? Where like it's doing all the upscaling on its own. It's defaulting to the right settings. It's optimizing so that I can have it look and feel like, it should, not like going through all these struggles just to get a subpar image anyway, right? Like it's like nobody wants that experience, right? And like if you're selling me a dock, there is that expectation, I think, that you said it last week, that you'll just have that like Nintendo Switch style experience, right? Like where I just put it in and it just works. And if they can't deliver that right now, then they're right to delay it as long as they need to, right? Like, I want it out of the box to have that functionality and for me to be like, yep, yes, perfect. This is exactly what I was expecting. And if it's not going to be that, why disappoint people, right? Like, focus on this, which was a win, right? Where it's like, oh, we did this, we moved this up, and we made people really happy. Rather than delivering something that is like half-baked and, you know, not necessarily ready for a mass market.
Yeah, I wonder if we're kind of interpreting the deck dock a little bit differently as well than what Valve wants it to be, because they've got two things on their website, right, where they've got it running in the dock plugged into a TV. You can plug it into your TV. We're using the USB-C port, and then they say everything else works. But then there's that experience of it being plugged in as a PC. So there's like footage of someone playing Crusader Kings 3, and he's got like his friends list just open on his Steam Deck screen, and it acts as like a secondary screen, and then his primary screen is his like main PC monitor, and they've got to get both of those experiences right. It needs to work correctly in the gaming mode, which I think is where the majority of people really want it. They want to be able to just use it as that Nintendo Switch experience. Like, let's plug it into this, let's play some Jackbox on the TV, or I'm going to play Roller Drone, which I was playing on my Steam Deck, and now I want to play it on the TV. I want to show my friend. And they need to be able to make it so it can be a PC. And it can function as a PC, and you can do either work tasks if you want, or you can play like your RTSs on the Steam Deck using a keyboard and mouse. So they need to get both of those experiences right, and I think nailing the software for that is probably more of a challenge than we think.
Yeah, and it's, you know, not for me to I don't say that to be like, oh, this is easy, why haven't you figured it out? It's more just like,
yeah.
That, I guess that summer release date was like, because they said that, I was like, oh, they must be pretty bullish that they're going to have this thing ready. Because they've been so, like, transparent about the fact that, like, put in your pre-orders, we have no idea when you're going to get it. Like, it might be months. And then, you know, and it was like a whole conversation like, about when you were going to get it. And it was so measured that for this to just slip quietly is kind of surprising.
I think a lot of people just did not expect... didn't expect this to A, have the level of success that it has, and B, actually hit the times that they said. Like, I remember when we initially heard that it was coming out in February, it was just like, really? Is it actually there? Because, like, you said
I was so
the end of last year
it would be delayed.
It was like, yeah, but it was like due at the end of 2021. They obviously missed that. Said, right, okay, and it's going to be in February. It's going to be in February, and yeah, I think a lot of people, including yourself, like, were just like, no, it's going to be delayed. They're not going to hit it. And since then, they've fucking nailed it. Every single window they've managed to hit. They've like ramped up production every single time. They managed to pull up some of the Q3 people into Q2. They've now got Q4 people going into Q3. You can order one now, and it'll be here by the end of the year. So all of that does make it surprising, and I think there's probably something else like there with the dock. And I think we'll probably hear something in the coming weeks, because as we're moving into the fall, I think it's time for them to release this. This is going to be a perfect gift for the Steam Deck owner in your life for Christmas, and if they can get them out there, I feel like a lot of people are going to want one.
Yeah. I hope we do see it by then. That would be really cool. But, you know, I'm of the opinion, right, where it's like, take the time you need, right? Like, I'd rather it come out and really stick the landing, because the Steam Deck has come out and really stuck the landing in a way that, like, I think you said, surprised a lot of people. So, you know, I'd rather them, you know, really recognize the vision, you know, and deliver something that is exciting and valuable to the Steam Deck owner, rather than just doing it because they said they were going to get it out at a certain time, right? Like, yeah, whatever, right? Like, get it right. It's worth the investment.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I agree with you, and I know, I trust them that, you know, their software team is just, it's blowing me away. Every single time they push a new update out, there's always something new and cool
it's
in
so
there.
Fast,
and I can imagine.
You know, like that's the thing that I've been,
the pace that they put it out. Yeah,
the most impressed by is, like, how constant the communication is, how open they are about what they're doing and what their plans are and how they see the things evolving, and then like actually delivering on that in such a like tight turnaround, right? Where like you've made the point a couple times where it'll be like we ask for a thing and like 2-3 weeks later there's like an update for it and it's like, oh, there you go, they solved the problem. Amazing.
Yeah, or they're so tuned in that they knew people would want that feature anyway, and it was already on their roadmap. And I feel like that is often the case. Like they knew that this panel that they had in there could have adjustable frame rates. They just hadn't figured it out 100%. And there was a video that did the rounds on YouTube of someone I think it was the Forks that was able to get it working in Windows, and I think it was Lawrence on Twitter. He said, "Yeah, we just haven't quite nailed how to make that perfect in SteamOS yet, but it's coming. We really want to have that feature." And like a week later, it was there and works great. So they're really tuned in, and I feel like they probably know the number of people that are using the console docked. They probably have some kind of metric that they're measuring. They know that this is probably not the priority for them, and I think it'll arrive when it arrives, and it'll be in a good state, I think.
That is an interesting question, though, right? Do people not dock it because docking it is currently not a good experience, or because it's hard, or because they don't know that they can do it, right? Or right? Like there's a lot of things you could chalk that up to of just like, well, it's not an optimal experience, so I wouldn't expect people to use it right now, right? The times I have tried to do it have been mostly cumbersome and not totally worth the effort, right? It was mostly like interesting as an experiment to be like, does this work? How does this work? Like rather than like,
I mean, it works great for you when you want to stream though. Like it doesn't even work with my capture card anymore, but for you, it's no issue.
Like I did a Roller Drome stream last week that you can go check out on Flipscreen Live, our sister channel, and and I was streaming it off the Steam Deck, and it was like perfect. I was running 60 FPS, and it's great. So yeah, like it works well in that context. And I think if you're like a big PC person and you like play on like a small high resolution monitor, I could see that being okay. But the like blowing it up to 4K experience right now is, I think, a little bit wanting. So that's,
I don't think 4K is never going to be the target.
But that's the thing.
There needs to be that middle ground.
They don't need to hit 4K truly, though, right? They just need to figure out good upscaling.
Yeah, I mean, FSR does a good job. It's just getting it to kick in sometimes can be tricky, like having to make sure the game's running in windowed mode and having to like set it to a 16:9 resolution that may not be supported by default if you want to go to 1080p, where you need to come out of the game, go into properties, set the resolution to 1080p within the properties, then reboot the game, and then you've got different options there in the game rather than just the maxing out of the 800p of the Steam Deck screen. So it is by no stretch of the imagination a seamless process, but I've played a bunch docked. It annoys me that some games don't work docked, like Days Gone, and I hope that that's solved as well. The issue with Days Gone is that it doesn't detect external controllers at all. It will not let you switch the controller. The controller that it uses the built-in controller, so I can't then use like a DualSense to play the game.
That's
odd. And it won't let me switch to it. It has like an exclamation mark on it, so it's like I can't switch between the controllers because I really wanted to try the DualSense on Days Gone in particular because it's meant to have like DualSense features because it's a Sony game, and I wanted to see if I could feel like the triggers and the rumble and the things like that they've added into it, but I wasn't able to try it. But I do want to try that with Spider-Man when we check that out.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that support works because you gotta imagine it's something that is probably not fully figured out yet, right? Their efforts on PC are still pretty new. But I hope ultimately that the deck is able to, or at least that a software update that comes alongside the deck is able to address that problem in a meaningful way, where you can kind of like switch into like docked mode, and that it'll like they try to emulate like basically like what Steam Big Picture Mode was doing, where it's just like you're on a TV, so we're going to optimize this for a television experience to some degree, right? Like if it could do some level of that on the back end, and even if it took the effort of me being like, let me set up a user profile, right? Where it's like, I'm on this kind of television. These are the dimensions. Like try to match the game to this optimal setting based on this, and then I'll go in and adjust it after the fact. But I don't want to do that for every single game, right? Because that's going to be really annoying if you're trying to switch back and forth between I'm docked, I'm picking it up now, it's in handheld. Do I have to go then change all the settings again just because I'm back in a different mode? Like, I do want them to have a software solution to solve some of those problems for me, because I don't expect it to be as seamless as Switch necessarily, but I think it needs to be close, because otherwise we're always going to compare it to that, whether or not it's fair or not, right?
Yeah, like I don't mind if I've got to close the game before I dock it in order to get the resolution thing to kick in. But it is annoying that I've got to go in and change all of my settings to make it look good on a TV, and then when I come out of that, I've got to change them all back. And to be fair, I don't mind playing in handheld at 16 by 9 rather than 16 by 10. So I'm okay to have the black bars top and bottom. So I usually just leave it in like 720p, and then it scales up to the TV. So that's not really been a massive issue for me. But I understand that there is some work that can be done, and I'm sure they're well aware of it.
Yeah, and I have full confidence that we will get there. I would be really surprised if we didn't, frankly. So I'm certainly not a complaint as much as just like a wish list item, right? Of like that would be a game changer, I think. Right, to be able to target that and hit it, and especially with like an indie game, right, where like if I'm playing Roller Drum or something and I want to play it on the TV, like that, I think those kinds of games will benefit from that a lot. Whereas like we talked about the AAA stuff last week, where it's like I think it's always going to be a better experience for you to go play on a souped up gaming PC or your Xbox or your PlayStation or whatever, but that's fine. It doesn't need to
there's one time I think that they could there's something I think they could do in order to combat that, which is if they allowed the Steam Deck to run at like a higher wattage when it was plugged in.
That's interesting.
I don't think they would. I don't know that they want to do that, because even on their website they said it doesn't, like in the FAQ, it just acts as a USB hub and it doesn't increase the performance. But if they could have the Steam Deck run at a higher wattage when it's plugged in than on the battery, you could eke out a lot more performance from the AMD APU, because I think that's part of the problem, is bottlenecked by the amount of power that can be delivered to it. But whether that's possible in the current hardware specification, I don't know. But it'd be interesting if they could achieve something like that.
Would be nice to see. But I'm sure we'll see some development there soon enough. They're clearly thinking about it, and they're consistently rolling out updates that are trying to improve that docked experience. So I think by the time we actually see the Steam Dock, I imagine it will be alongside some kind of update that supports that, whether it's user profiles or something like that, where you can, let your Steam Deck know that you're going to go into docked mode and that it'll try to compensate. I imagine some kind of support like that is just absolutely going to come. What exactly what it looks like remains to be seen. But, to your point earlier, they've been doing a really good job of anticipating our desires and our needs and trying to deliver on them. And they've been largely successful. So I'd be surprised if they can't figure this one out. Mm-hmm. All right. So, thank you all for joining us here on another episode of the Steam Deck podcast. Remember, if you want to write in with your thoughts about anything we discussed on this week's show, or if you want to suggest a main topic, a start screen segment, or just ask us a question about our experiences with the Steam Deck, please write into us at questions@flipscreen.games, or come join our Discord, where we've got a Steam Deck podcast channel where you can come and discuss the show with us after the fact. Write in with your questions, however you choose to write in. We'd love to hear from you. It'd be great to get some listener mail on this show. And please come join our Discord. Come be a part of our community. We've got a small number of Steam Deck folks over there right now, so I'd love to get some more folks over in that channel chatting with us about the Steam Deck, because Lord knows we're having a good time with it. So if you are too, and you want to come chat with us after the show's over, that is the best way to do it. So I hope you'll come get involved. And if this is your first time joining us, please remember to like, share, subscribe to the channel if you're over on YouTube. Follow the RSS if you're an audio listener. Go check out some of our sister shows like Nintendo Noise and the Flip Screen Games podcast. And thanks for joining us. So for the crew, I've been Pete. He's been Steve. We'll see you next week.